I like indie games, a lot actually. I also play way too few of them, and instead of getting around to the most critically acclaimed ones, I end up diving into Steam's Next Fests, eager to discover games I've never heard of before. That's really the beauty of it. You can try out so many demos and a good chunk of them might not cut it for you, but eventually you stumble onto something good, perhaps even something great. If you don't know what the Steam Next Fest is, it's basically a showcase of upcoming smaller scale games and indie titles that Steam hosts every few months or so, and the absolute best part of it is that you actually get to play any and all of them that you want. So now I'm here to share with you the best games I found in this Steam Next Fest that are firmly on my radar now. Just before you get into it, a quick disclaimer: not all of these are actually independent self-published titles, but to my knowledge they are all made by small teams and a lot of them are even debut titles. Alright. Let's go.
Destiny had something different in store for her. Open it. Open it.
How did that happen?
Indika is the first game that I found that struck a chord with me. It's a story-driven game that feels reminiscent of something like a Plague Tale, minus the combat. The very first thing that struck me about it was the strong storytelling. There's really great writing and truly stellar performances. It's set in this weird, alternate 20th century Russia with some slight steampunk elements and maybe even a tinge of Bloodborne. And in the demo you play as this young nun called Indika as you trek across a harsh winter landscape with an injured and neurotic soldier on some mission that isn't really explained too much yet. Said soldier is not her only companion though. There's another voice that follows her, the devil himself. I love the premise, I can't lie. But apart from this and how well it's executed, the game is also surprisingly polished in its gameplay mechanics and sometimes even gets quite creative with them. Now there are some things that threw me off at first about Indika, and that to some extent still do, and they are twofold. For one, the music in the game feels very much at odds with the seemingly realistic tone of the story at first. Once the game introduces some strong surreal elements, however, the strange tone becomes charming in a very, very weird way. The other thing is the use of some arcadey visual effects and sound effects, as well as this strange upgrade tree that all clash hard with the supposedly realistic tone. But again, once it becomes clear that realism isn't really the game's goal, this becomes much less jarring. Overall, despite its quirks, this really hooked me, and I'm definitely looking forward to how this game shapes up. Okay, so this one took me completely by surprise. Take a look.
Power up! Alright, Maxie, you got this guy.
Time to boldly kill what no man has killed before.
I downloaded Bears in Space without even really looking at any trailers or anything, and when the time came to play it, I kind of didn't want to. The title didn't sound too enticing if I'm honest, but I'm so glad that I actually did play it. This is such a fun game. The humor might be a bit hit or miss for some, but personally it made me chuckle a lot. Now on the gameplay side, honestly, it's actually so tight and so varied in its scenarios that I'm not sure if it could miss for anyone who's into first-person shooters. It's definitely inspired by the popular boomer shooter genre, but at least in the demo it adds so many neat scenarios that make it stand out. Regardless, this combination with the humor, which reminded me a lot of the original Ratchet & Clank in a way, it works so damn well, and it becomes clear right away just how much heart the developers have put into this game. I honestly don't even want to spoil too much here. It's better to check it out for yourself if anything I've said or shown has piqued your interest. I genuinely love this and hope it gets more attention.
Welcome to Carpentersville, a small town with a big problem. Vampires. But a new vampire slayer's here. Her name is Becky Brewster, a feisty high schooler with a fondness for field hockey. And a beef with bloodsuckers.
Hashtag blood. It's hard to properly describe blood, but think quirky art style and animations, vampires, dungeon crawling and life simulator. It's wild. You play as this young girl Becky who is about to go to a new school when she discovers a mysterious book her deceased mother left behind, which leads her on a quest to stop a vampire apocalypse. Yeah, it's really wild, and the writing is plenty of fun, never taking itself too seriously. I cannot emphasize enough though how good this art style is, how good the animations are. Just look at it. That's really what struck me the most. Comparisons to Cult of the Lamb are easily made, but this is some truly impressive stuff. On the gameplay side, this demo doesn't show off too much yet. The combat is very simple so far, but it's fun for what it is. I'm really hoping for some combos and different weapons in the full game though. Just like with Bears in Space, the level of polish of this debut indie title is incredibly impressive. This game has already been shouted out on big YouTube channels like SkillUp, and I'm sure it will blow up sooner or later, and rightfully so.
Hello, where do you think you are? Wrong, you're in my crypt and you're coming on a quest with me.
There's nothing like the refreshing feeling of playing a game that feels truly new and innovative, and that's exactly what Cryptmaster is. You play as a group of undead or dead warriors, I don't even know, awoken by the Cryptmaster who wants you to get him out of his crypt. The catch is that apart from movement, you have to actually type out the words of what you want to do, like hit if you want to hit an enemy, or chest if you want to open a chest, and so on. And the game does so much with that simple twist in just this short demo. You have your 4 party members at the bottom, and you need to either guess their commands or gather letters to get hints. And no matter what you type, you always get some absolutely hilarious commentary from the Cryptmaster. The writing and voice acting is just superb.
Good idea. Smash, smash, smash.
In the name of all that is pure and peaceful, I'll rip your
It's also just impressive that there are voice lines for almost every word you can type, so there are different comments that the Cryptmaster makes, like, for everything. I mean, of course, some of them are automated responses, for sure, but most of them aren't, as long as you don't type just nonsense, of course. Cryptmaster also has just a strong sense of style through its clever humor and gameplay on one hand, but also this timeless black and white cel-shaded art style that fits perfectly. I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on the full version of this game, because this is just really promising with no strings attached.
The Ereban are the secret. Their power is the Genesis and the Exodus.
Ereban Shadow Legacy. I went into this with super low expectations again. I downloaded it on a whim and was so pleasantly surprised. Ereban Shadow Legacy is a stealth platformer that takes a number of cues from the stealth game Origami, particularly with its shadow mechanic. The shadows here are your best friend, literally. While you are in them, you can turn into a shadow and move around unnoticed. In this state, you can also climb up and along flat walls, which the game makes extensive use of in its level and encounter design. It's really great stuff. So, like, as long as you're in the shadow and don't touch the light, you can, like, move around walls, on long walls, wall run, all that stuff. It's really cool. But at its core, Ereban is about stealth. And so, similar to Origami, you can only kill enemies while in stealth. If you get detected while you're near an enemy, it's over. That might get annoying, but it also adds a lot of tension to the encounters. One pleasant surprise about this game was actually storytelling. From the first cutscene the game throws you into, I could feel the quality of the writing and voice acting, and as it went along, I found myself quite intrigued with the lore as well. It also solves the protagonist monologue thing quite well, that many games have. The character you play as, Ayana, gets a recording device from another NPC to record and log the things she sees. Pretty neat. The only thing that bothered me about this package was the performance, unfortunately. The frame rate was definitely inconsistent, and you can probably see that in the footage I'm showing you. Admittedly though, my PC is not very good, so this might be only a problem for lower end PCs, yeah. Ereban Shadow Legacy. Keep this one on your radar if anything I've said sounded interesting to you. Hollowbody is a survival horror game that's reminiscent of the old Resident Evil games. Though the camera is not as fixed here, it's still fixed, but it's kind of flexible. And from what I've seen, it also takes hints from Silent Hill. This was a complete contrast to the other games on my list, as it was very slow paced, but it was never boring because the atmosphere is just so captivating. I can't fathom that this was made by a single developer. It's absolutely crazy. On the gameplay side is what you would expect from the genre, but it's executed really well. Combat encounters were minimal, so for the most part this was just exploration and puzzle solving, so yeah, it definitely feels more akin to Resident Evil 2 than 4. The combat is quite simple. You only get a revolver and a melee weapon here, and you automatically aim, so it's much more about positioning and resource management than anything else. I'm definitely keen to see where this goes with its story and mystery, and how it continues to build this great atmosphere. There's no release date for Hollowbody yet, but this demo is a great appetizer. Okay, so out of all these games, this is the most likely one to blow up in popularity. Mullet Mad Jack is a frenetic first-person roguelike shooter where you shoot your way through rooms at a breakneck pace. The levels are split up into these floors which take roughly 30 seconds to a minute to run through, and so Mullet Mad Jack offers an utterly intoxicating burst of dopamine. This loop is perfect for people with short attention spans, and honestly, this might be way too addicting, but in any case, this is a shit ton of fun. Visually, this game is an absolute clusterfuck, and it's overwhelming for sure, but when you actually play it, it doesn't hinder the gameplay. The art style is so 80s and anime and Akira, and it's perfect for this kind of game, honestly. I still feel dizzy after just finishing the demo, but yeah, some of my friends are obsessed with this, and I can definitely see why. Mullet Mad Jack doesn't have a release date yet, but I have little doubt that it will go viral when it comes out. This Steam Next Fest has been an absolute blast, truly. All of these games were genuine surprises for me and have made me so excited again about this medium. Everything people say about diving into indies when you feel jaded or even just a bit tired with video games is true. I wish I could showcase some more games, but sadly I don't have the time to play so many of them right now, and technically I don't even have the time to make this video if I'm honest. I might still play a few more of them, but I wanted to get this video out while the Next Fest is still running. I'm sure that I've missed some really cool gems, and if I have, don't hesitate to tell me all about them in the comments. I'll make sure to give them a look sooner or later. Before I go, I just want to shout out some games that seem excellent but unfortunately ran horribly on my PC, namely Hell's Gate and Serum, which could not be more different from one another, but both seem promising. Okay, that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, drop a like if you did, and I look forward to seeing you next time.